Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oduor Jagero, and this is Dialogues with Jagero. Today, I'm having an interesting guest. Mr. Jacob Aliet was written a book. Actually, it is his seventh book, but it is the book that has, helped him make a lot of enemies around town, around the world. The book is called Unplugged. Things our fathers did not tell us. It's very, very interesting, and Jacob Aliet says a lot of good things. Some things that people might think that they are bad. Aliet argues that we now live in a femicentric world where popular media panders to women, and without regard to what is proper or beneficial to the society. So he asks several questions. One of the questions that is interesting that he asks is, why do young men prefer being side chicks rather than settling in marriage? What is the role of masculine females in relationships? And one of the things that Aliet talks about, which happened sometimes back, is the issue of Shafi Weru and John Falme that were all booted from Kiss TV, I think. So welcome to the program, Mr. Jacob.
Thank you.
So, let me just say that the issue of gender wars is very interesting to me, and for me, growing up, I've always been very confused with and by women. I don't understand women. I'm married for the last 9 or 10 years, and I have a daughter who is soon becoming a woman who is going to be 8 in January. I can't say for sure that I understand my wife. She's confusing me every day. Women around me confuse me. My sisters confuse me. My mothers confuse me. They confuse me. But something also very interesting about women is that in my life, women have been very supportive. I have, just like you've written 7 books, I have written 5 books. And if you look at the statistics of the people that have bought my books, the majority are women. If I track my life, I always get to the conclusion that it is the women that have really positively influenced my life. When I was in college and I wanted bursary sponsorship, it was a woman, But when I dated and I hate dating, I have really thought that women are not very nice people, And Unplugged is telling this story. We have the story, you call it MGTOW, men that are now going away. We have single women that are not getting married. We have all these things happening. Women that are going to 40 and friends. There are so many friends of mine who are women and telling me that I can't get a man. The other day I was speaking to a lady and she was telling me that I am very comfortable right now. Why would I entertain a disruptor, a man in my life? Those are very strange questions. But you wrote a book, and I want to ask who Jacob is. How did you grow up?
Thank you for having me and for the questions you've asked. You've said so many things, and I wish we could actually go through them.
Yeah.
Because I also have an experience where women really support me, by the way. And even in my writing journey, the majority even of people buy my books are women. If you look at my book launches, most of the people who attend are women compared to men. Maybe my wife has something to do with it, but in general, women have been very supportive to me also. So I'm Jacob Aliet. I'm an author. I also think of myself as a philosopher because I'm a lover of ideas. And I am really dedicated to the quest of knowledge. I love knowledge. I just love to have understanding of how things work. So I'm married, father of 2, boy and a girl. And I work as an IT project manager. Writing is my passion. But I also now, because of Unplugged, I become a life coach because I'm also very interested in success in business, success in terms of career-wise, in terms of health, mental health, physical health, and just success in terms of attaining and living actualized lives. We talk about actualized lives. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy, we talk about self-actualization. So it's something I've been very interested in, things like meditation, things about just pushing yourself and discovering new frontiers as a human being, because I'm also very interested in what I call the human condition. I used to watch X-Files. Did you know X-Files?
Yeah.
Yeah, X-Files, they used to say,
My wife still watches it up to now.
she still watches it. I didn't know
Yeah.
it's still there. They used to end a number of those episodes with the expression, "This is who we are." So sometimes you watch a very disturbing episode, maybe about a murderer or a pedophile or someone who is a monster, but in the end they tell you this is who we are. And there's someone who said, I think recently, that when a child is born, they have about 400 different potential personalities. Most people don't know this. And that's why people think that when you have a child, you can actually, of course, you can exert some influence on them, but you don't have complete control over how they turn out. Sometimes it's just one, they can go in any particular trajectory. That's why sometimes you find the children of pastors, they don't even end up liking the church, and you'd actually expect them to follow that. So that is what I am. I'm passionate about masculinity. Also because during this COVID time, a number of things happened. I have friends who lost their marriages, and I became very interested in what is happening. And in the process of finding out what's happening, I did a lot of research, and I discovered so much about what being a man is that most people don't even seem to know. And I'm passionate about telling men and educating them who they are, because most of the times we don't even know who we are. We live life from the outside, from the inside looking out. But if you looked inside, actually you'll find that our perspectives and the results we get from life will really, really change. So I'm trying to teach men about that. And also, you mentioned that you don't understand women. For the longest time, men have not understood women. And even if you look at a lot of epics, for example, there is this movie that was very popular called 300. The Oracle is a woman. If you look at the Matrix, Keanu Reeves, and that's why we get even the word Unplugged and Red Pill, the Oracle is a woman. If you look at Things Fall Apart, when you talk about in Nigeria, most of the times the females, they take these figures of very esoteric characters. Even in the West, the witches are normally women. So most of the times, men have always treated the feminine as something that cannot be understood. In the Greeks, among the Greeks and Romans, the goddess Pandora, for example, was female. When you talk about the Pandora's box is basically a box of chaos. So men used to think that women are chaotic and they bring disorder and disruption. The Garden of Eden, it is Eve who talks to the serpent first, then he introduces Adam to it. And if you look at when God is spelling out the punishment in Genesis, he tells Adam that his first sin was listening to his wife. So men have struggled with understanding women for the longest time. But right now, and that's one of the templates I put in Unplugged, we understand women pretty well. Because women, the first thing about...
Before we go into that, I would still stay with you growing up.
Yes.
So you were born in Nairobi.
Yes, I was born in Nairobi.
Would you mind talking about the family, which born you are, and
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing me back on that, because that is also very interesting.
Yeah.
My father was born alone. He was an only child. So because of this, he went through a lot of a difficult life with his mother, who was a widow. So my father, I think he figured out that since he suffered so much as an only child, his children will never experience that kind of life. So what he did, he married 3 wives, and he had 28 children. So my mother was the youngest, and we are 11 children. I'm the 7th born of 11. And in total, we are 28. So we grew up here in Nairobi. Life was not easy because...
Why Nairobi?
Why Nairobi?
Where?
Where? In Isili.
Yeah.
In Isili Section 3, there's a place near... There's a film there called Sun City Cinema. It's a cinema hall called Sun City. We were living near Sun City. And because of our number and his income. He was not earning a lot of money, so it was a difficult life. He passed on when I was 12. And so when he passed on, we had to relocate to the village in Kindube. So that's where I finished my primary education. High school, I went to St. Mary's Yala. Then I went to Moi University. I did information science. And I got a lot of interest there in publishing and book trade. I majored in IT.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started as a trainer. I'm an IT trainer. I've also been a system developer. But right now, I do project management. That's where I'm fully grounded on right now. I did my master's in Nairobi University, MBA, and I've done a lot of professional certifications. But even as I was growing up, in Form 2 is when I discovered that I really want to be a writer one day. I read Robert Ludlum's book called Road to Gandolfo. It made me really want to be a writer. So I started actually keeping diaries. I have a lot of journals from that time. I learned to express my thoughts in written form and so on and so forth. So even when I was doing my work as an IT guy, I was writing a lot. I've written, if you Google me, you'll find a lot of articles I've written. I've published in academic journals. I've been published in newspapers. I've written short stories. I've written plays. But now in 2018 is when I started writing seriously and publishing my books. Yeah.
What was your relationship with your mother? Because there is a book I read, I forget the name, and right now somebody was saying that in America, the reason why the women hold sway over men is because most of these people have father figures in mothers and in women. So it's very interesting. What was your relationship with your mother? Because I feel like the way we relate to women sort of really comes from how we relate with our mothers.
It may be true, but I wouldn't necessarily agree. But my mother was a very kind lady, very very slow to anger. She never punished us. And in fact, when we were growing up, we were very naughty and cheeky. And the disciplinarian in growing up was our father, who was very harsh and very strict. But my mother was always very kind. Even sometimes you could feel that she should take offense in terms of what someone has said or done to her. But she always used to tell us, don't worry about it, and so on. So she told us about her childhood. She grew up in Kisii, and but for the most part, very silent, very quiet, very meek, very humble lady. Yeah.
About writing, I have had a very love-hate relationship with writing. I think that writing has given me a lot of voice to say the things that I need to say. On Facebook, I'm always writing, and sometimes I want to say something I could, and I would be a coward saying it, But then I would go behind writing and probably turn it into fiction or something like that, just to put across a point.
Yeah.
And writing has also been sort of a buttoned bread for me. And writing has been very difficult in Kenya. Well, before we started talking on set, we were chatting outside set, and you told me that Unplugged is the book that has sort of paid for your labor of love, for the writing that you've done. This is your 7th book, and Unplugged sort of is the one that has sold more, that has given you money. And sometimes writing is has no money. And people don't run away from it. You do a book, and so I wanted to ask you how writing has been for you, because if you are having Unplugged, which is now making money, and you've been writing the last 6 books, you have been writing for a long time. This is your 7th book. Do you think that has writing been business for you, or writing has just been an outlet to say the things that you want?
Good question. But let me go back first, because there was something you said earlier. I think I need to mention something about it.
Yeah.
About the way, particularly the black men are raised by their mothers in the US.
Yeah.
You know, there's a book called The Myth of Male Power. I think it's written by Warren Farrell. And one thing that guys need to understand, which I think we take for granted, the reason most guys find it very easy to worship women.
Yeah.
You know, of course, the West teaches that, you know, if you propose to a woman, you need to go on one knee and propose. And many men, when they get married, they give up their friends and they give up. Even guys who used to work out, they stop working out because now they have a woman and they want to be around her. Pedestalizing women starts from pedestalizing mother. So all of us have circled the breast of a woman, and that is where the way we view women starts from our mothers. The love, the tenderness that men have towards women. Even these guys who are paying school fees for their girlfriends and the girls, they end up telling them, you're not my type, and these guys come crying to the media, to Maina Kageni and so on. It's because many men grow up thinking that women are like their mothers. But a woman who loves you romantically is completely different from how your mother loves you. And these are things men really struggle with. And many times, the reality is...
Do you mean that they're sort of confusing?
They are confusing
They're confusing that the way my mother loved me is the
the
same
way,
way that
your wife can love you, for example.
Or your girlfriend.
Yeah, so they expect like women to understand them. Like you find a guy who has lost his job. He expects to sit at home and his wife to understand him. And when his wife throws him out or lives with the children, he does not understand, why can't she just see I'm trying my best and so on. But we'll come to that. Let me come to the writing. When I started writing seriously in 2018, first of all, I knew that as much as I love writing, I can't say I'm talented as a writer, but I love writing. Yeah. And I've always
What do you mean by you don't think you're a talented writer?
Because it didn't come easy to me. I've worked hard.
Yeah.
I've worked hard, and some people think I have a gift. I don't agree because I've really worked. I've been very intentional about perfecting my craft. So when I came to writing, the first thing I did is that I knew. I've read stories of other authors like Stephen King and so many others, and most of them have a story of failure, a story of rejection. My books have been rejected by so many publishers, Oxford and so on. So even me, I knew that I would be rejected, and I always knew that I was not going to be to blow up maybe in my second or third or fourth book. I always projected that it will probably be the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th book. So even when I started writing, that was my expectation.
Did you project because you thought that as I start, I'm not good enough? I'm progressing.
Yes.
I knew. I'm becoming better.
Yes, I knew it will take time. And I always understood the power of compounding efforts. You know, when you're doing something, the power of repetition and iteration, you become better with time. So I knew that in time I was going to be good. So even if Unplugged was not going to do well, by the way, I always do a book launch every March or April, every year from 2018. In fact, last year I wrote 3 books. Unplugged is just the one that did well. But I wrote Unplugged, I wrote Transference, and that anthology, A Slice of Darkness for Breakfast.
Yeah.
I've actually written 13 books, but 8 paperbacks. So Unplugged is the 7th, and the 8th one is the anthology.
And then it is interesting that they also say that Jacob Aliet, the author of Levant Church, why do you think that is the one that has been chosen to carry the name?
It is me who chose that. Levant Church.
You love it in a special way.
It did very well, and I think it was very authentic the way I wrote it. You know, sometimes when you write as an author, I think you mentioned this. Sometimes you censor yourself, like you don't want to write some certain sex scenes or some degree of violence. You don't want to have so much violence. But with Levant Church, I went all out. I said the hell with it. So I think Levant Church was very authentic, and people loved it. Okay? So I have writing masterclasses. I think authors need to approach writing as a business. And as a business, and if you want to be good and to make a dent in this universe, especially as an author, you have to have what we call outcome independence. That means that if you write a book and you publish it and it doesn't catch on or catch fire, you don't get discouraged. Just write another book. eventually, because you're also improving, if you're intentional and you're self-aware and you're striving for excellence, in good time you're going to produce
That
a
is very
masterpiece.
interesting because the reason why I have always thought that writers in Kenya have not done really, really well is because we are very different from Europe and American markets. For example, in America, your job would basically, well, right now there are a lot of self-published books, but before that, it was easier to go to a publisher and have your book published. And just like we talked before, during the outside the set, we said that it's a lot of dirty work that you have to have. It's sweat and blood. And so there are so many writers, I think, in this country that thought that they would just write, get these publishers to do it, and then nobody did it for them. As a matter of fact, one of my books that I've done really, really well is called The Ghost of 1894, the story of the Rwandan genocide. And this book, I submitted it for a prize, I think, with Kwani, and it became number 100.
Okay.
And something interesting is that the first 100 books, they had to write you a letter of saying that they read your book.
Okay.
And they think that, and they would give you what they think should be done to the book to make the book better.
Okay.
And so they wrote me an email and told me that we think that this book needs to be rewritten. Several chapters, several scenes needs to be written because it is very slow. Some chapters do not make sense. Continuity is problematic, and I took it in and rewrote the book for another 8 months, and then I decided to publish it. And it is the book that took me to Europe for a tour, and it did really, really well. I remember in Germany, the book was I sold I think 100,000 on one sitting in one evening.
Okay.
And number 2, remember, number 1 was called Chintu.
Okay.
By the lady from Uganda. Number 2 was Kenyan.
Okay.
Was never published.
We don't remember the title.
I don't remember the title.
Okay.
But it was worked on for a long time. It was never published. And so the reason why I'm saying this is that a lot of authors have always said that, and artists, musicians, they have said that my work, I remember even Power Top 5 for where we are right now, there are guys like Alexander Ikawa was saying that I am just a writer and I can't be the one marketing the book. I can't be the one looking for money to print the book. I can't be the one looking to organize. You've talked about organizing a launch, which I believe we organized by yourself from A to Z. So it's very interesting what you say, that as a writer or as an artist, you have also to think as a businessman, and so you are going on with it.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying, I know there are guys who suffer from imposter syndrome, and they are writers, but they have not accepted the identity that they are authors. There are also people who don't understand. It doesn't matter how nicely you've written your book. If you don't talk about it, nobody will know about it. This is a basic thing that authors need to understand. That it's just like your work. If you don't talk about your work, nobody will know about your work. I think we have an African saying that says that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Like when a bird is feeding the hatchlings, they have to open their beaks like this, and then that's the one. So even as an author, that is part of it. But at the same time, authors also have to realize this is if it's about money also, maybe writing is not the right thing that you should be doing. But it also doesn't mean that authors should be broke. And I think that's also a perception that many people have. So approach it as a business. Because right now we're in the content creator economy. Some people don't even know this. I know that there are many, for example, there's a 20-year-old lawyer in Atlanta who left his law practice and became a YouTuber. He's creating content on YouTube. Right now, if you compare, if you look, for example, there's a site called Glassfish. Glassfish normally compares people's salaries. You compare how much surgeons are earning, lawyers, accountants, engineers, any kind of profession, and compare them to YouTubers. YouTubers are doing very, very well. These are content creators. This is why you have all these young millionaires in Kenya who are just creating content, and they have their YouTube channels and so on. So as an author, and I like using the example of Chimamanda Adichie. Chimamanda is making so much money just from her talks, but primarily she's an author. So even an author doesn't need to be just one dimensioned.
Yeah.
You can have a TikTok account, you can have a YouTube account, share your content on Facebook. Right now, even me, I'm doing coaching, I'm doing mentoring, I'm doing talks and so on. So an author has the ability to do all these things. But more importantly, if you compare our authors to authors who've done very well, like James Clear of Atomic Habits, you look at Tony Robbins and so on, the main difference between us and those guys are always pushing their content on social media. They're always posting something on Twitter, they're posting something on Facebook, on Instagram, and so on. And many times they have a team that is doing that. As an author, you may not have to do that. But in my writing masterclasses, for example, I teach guys about frameworks of how to push your content on social media. There's a way in which you can clickbait and attract attention to your work. So there are ways of doing it. So authors have to learn these things, because it is also not a very good thing that because of either your laziness or your inability to just push your work, nobody gets to know it, then you get discouraged, and then you stop writing. Because I have so many guys who have written 1 or 2 books and they give up and they move on. And yet you could find, if this guy is stuck to it, he could have produced a masterpiece that could even have changed the world. So authors need to look at if you are about it also, because there are also some people maybe who don't love writing that much. But if you love writing, I think you really need to commit yourself to the craft, learn how to use technology, learn how to use whatever avenues that are there for you as an author to make your work known and to make it sell and to improve yourself. Because, for example, editing is very expensive right now, but tools like Grammarly, for example, can help you to clean up your work in terms of typos, grammatical mistakes, and so on. And you can also use collaborative efforts. Social media makes it possible for us to collaborate with other authors. You can collaborate, you can share so many things. People have different capabilities. So those are some of the things people need to leverage on, as opposed to just sticking on the traditional model. Also, the other thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned earlier that my works have been rejected.
Yeah.
Authors don't need to stick to the traditional publishing model. I even know, like, in Europe, there are so many scamming. They call themselves hybrid publishers.
Yeah.
They tell you...
Indie publishers.
Yeah. No. Indie normally is self-publishing.
Yes.
But they call themselves hybrid publishers. What it means is you send to them your work. They look at it. Most of the time, they'll give you a very glowing review. They tell you, we've looked at your work. Your work is very nice. It has a lot of potential. And we can help you to publish this work. We've helped so many authors. They'll even give you authors. You know, we have a lot of vanity authors. Someone he's won a big inheritance from his parents, and then he spends a lot of money paying a publisher to publish. And it's a trashy kind of work. So they'll even give you author they published for. Then they tell you maybe to pay $200,000 and they'll publish your work. You see? So authors should not fall for such things. And I've posted a lot about this. You need to be patient and don't be scammed, because sometimes people are so eager to have their work published that they fall for such things. You pay these guys $200,000 and they won't even advertise you on Amazon or anywhere. So it doesn't even make sense. And even our local publishers, they publish your work. If it's not in KICD or if it's not in the CBC, it's just going to rot in their warehouse. So it doesn't even make sense to struggle so much. You wait for 4 years for them to give you a response to your work. Just publish, self-publish. Write the next book. You need to stay busy and active, and that's how you'll become good as an author. Ultimately, if your work is very good, you can still be approached by legit publishers who can actually publish your work and give you the publicity that you need.
Let's get to the crux of the matter. The question of gender wars. It's here with us. A lot of angry people a lot of sad people, a lot of people who are confused. I have girls who swear that I have girlfriends who swear that they would never be in a relationship. But if you interrogate their life, you don't see anything that has happened in their lives that make them hate this idea so much. So you begin to realize that it is actually things that they are picking from social media, from older women,
Yeah.
that are well, for purpose of argument, we've used words like bitter, have been beaten by life so much, and things like that. And for me, I feel like at some point people just have to sit down and agree that what is the best way. I think that male opinion has been hushed. We are living in an age where in an age where, as a man, you can't go online and talk about what you feel about women without being heavily sanctioned, without being indicted by your workplace, without being seen as. So the idea is that women are always saying that we need to talk, we need to have a conversation, but you can't have that conversation with them. The moment I remember vividly something that happened in Kampala, Uganda, at a book fair, where apparently somebody was harassed during a conference, I think in West Africa. And so for the organizers of this conference in Uganda, they decided that they can have a chat around it. And sort of these things of sponsors want us to talk about this thing and respect women, and so they had a town hall kind of a meeting where people were supposed to be talking about these issues of harassment. I remember a gentleman stood up to give a point, and first of all, the panelists did not allow him to finish his train of thought. He was told that we cannot allow such opinion in this forum, which was very interesting. But then even the ladies that were sitting next to him were shouting at him. At the end of the day, this guy actually was he just went numb. And then he just went and sat down. And that was the end of him. And for me, I feel like that is what is happening right now with men on social media. You'll find some a bit of bold ones going after women and things like that, but there has never been a conversation. So the first question I want to ask you is that why is it that it is very difficult for women and men to sit down? And if Jacob is going to say the worst of things, if Jacob is going to say that women are stupid, let them say that, and then let people sit down and let the other person on the other side say what the reason why I don't think women are stupid, and then let the guy speak. If you think that women are like children, then let them speak and say why they think women are like children, and then try to tell him, try to advise him, try to let him know the other side, the reason why women are just as adults and are not children. So the first question I want to ask you is that why do you think the genders can't really converse?
Good question. Right now, actually, it's changing. I was watching, if you look at the way many podcasts are right now, the way they are shaping up, particularly in the West, most of the panels, they have the genders, men and women. Sometimes, of course, they get heated. But where we have reached, we are coming from a background where it has been advertised very successfully the way women are disadvantaged. From the time feminism started, of course, women were disadvantaged, and of course, men abused the privileges that they had at the time. So women didn't have voting rights. They didn't have the right to go to work. They didn't have a lot of rights to own property and so on. So feminism came and women got these rights. The women came to the workplace. Then women realized they cannot compete with men, and then we had affirmative action.
What do you mean they realize they cannot compete with men?
So what it means is that, for example, if you look at roles like management roles, or roles like leading companies, becoming a CEO and so on. Most of those roles require working for very long hours, a lot of hard work, and being very disagreeable. It means you need to be able to fire people and take very tough decisions, very unpopular decisions. Many women cannot handle that. And in most cases where women are to compete with the men, you find that men had an edge compared to women, because men are disagreeable. Men are much more driven to perform because of just their aggression, high level of testosterone. Men, they have more stamina, just in terms of physical strength of being able to work long hours. Men can do that more than women. So
Women will disagree.
yeah, of course they will disagree, but these are just facts. So what happened is that the way it is phrased. Women will tell you, men have a boys' club, and so they pick other men and so on. But even if you get a woman who owns a company, in most cases that woman will want a man to be at the helm of that company. They will not pick a woman because so they know. And you'll also find that even when you talk to women prefer to have male bosses than female bosses. We have what we call the queen bee phenomenon. Women tend to be very vindictive and petty when they're dealing with their subordinates. So, and because of that, most women prefer male bosses. So women know these are facts. And if you Google, you can always find them. So affirmative action was put in place to ensure that women are not left behind. Even if you look at today, our parliamentary system, we talk about women reps and so on and so forth, so that we also have women representation. Because even if you look at politics, it's very dirty. If left to their own devices, all the leaders will be men, because the women cannot compete with, cannot cope with the kind of violence that is involved in that competition. So affirmative action came, and then later on, women realized that there was a need to have some sort of special privileges, and that came in form of protection, because now we talk about discrimination. Even this phrase, respect women. Why should you respect women? Nobody says respect men, because the idea has been sold that men, unless they are told, they do not respect women. So we come from the default position that a man needs to be checked, a man needs to be put in his own place, a man needs to be pushed back, otherwise he's going to nyanyasa women. And that is why even when it comes to, feminism evolved up to the point where now when you talk about social media, we have the Me Too movement, and now we talk about being cancelled. Women have evolved to work in collectives. When you talk about hunters and gatherers, from our evolutionary past, women always learned to rely on each other and to work together as a team. That is why when a woman meets a man, if this man tells her, by the way, I want you to come to my place tomorrow, she loves to talk to the committee. We call them the committee, her girlfriends. Oh, he invited me to his place tomorrow. What should I do? What should I wear? They tell her, is that a good idea? How long have you known him? All the girlfriends have to give their input. And if they say, no, don't go, she will not come. Really? Okay, that is how it works. So women always work in collective. That's why they have the chamas and so on and so forth. So even in social media, the way people get cancelled, it is always women who are cancelling people, because they work like it's like a hive. Okay? And at the top we have
a group of sharks.
Yeah, it's a sisterhood. We call it a sisterhood. Sisterhood, even Ubarali is at the top. So all this come together to the point where women have sold the idea that they are victims. And that is why they say, like, when you look at my dress, my choice. My dress, my choice means I can wear anything. Even if I'm showing my thighs and my cleavage, it doesn't matter. Okay? But in reality, we have criminal elements. Like if you are a man, for example, and you have a very nice car, you cannot go and park it somewhere in a deserted street in River Road and expect that the side mirrors will not be removed. It's something precious. You need to keep it away. But women don't want to be told that you have these precious things, you need to cover them. They don't want that. My dress, my choice. So this victimhood narrative also, it means you cannot also hold women accountable. If you tell a woman, for example, that it's a bad idea to sleep around with many men, they'll tell you are slut shaming. Okay? You are slut shaming us. If you tell her that you should need to watch your weight, exercise, don't eat a lot of junk food. If you're obese, you can get a heart disease. They say you're body shaming me, So the men have been silenced. And it's because of this silencing of men that we have what we call the manosphere. So men were exiled from the public space and they formed what we call the manosphere. And it is actually that space where men were able to share their experiences in terms of relationships with women. And that's why right now we have a template of what we call female nature. This female nature is a collection of experiences that men have shared in marriage, in relationships, through parenting, and so on. And that's what gives us a blueprint of what we call female nature.
Really?
Yes, and one thing I should tell you, and this is right now affecting even people in academia.
Yeah.
Women are censoring even knowledge about themselves. Let me give you an example. There's somebody called David Bass. David Bass is considered the father of evolutionary psychology. And evolutionary psychology basically just means you're trying to identify the infrastructure of how we reason and our behaviors based on our evolutionary past. In his research, the way the research happened was he picked a number of women. And when a woman is ovulating, for example, you give her photographs of men, a bald man, a thin man, a skinny man, a muscular man with the beards, rugged guys, and so on. And you tell her, which man do you find attractive here? You just put a tick, okay? When she's not ovulating, you do the same thing. What kind of man do you find attractive here? So what the research showed is that a woman's, we call it a mating strategy. A woman's mating strategy changes depending on her ovulatory cycle. And, like in the past, people used to talk about the premenstrual syndrome, for example, because a woman's behavior completely changes based on the menses and so on. David Bass found that when a woman is ovulating, the kind of man she wants, in the ways they call them Chad. The Chad is a guy who is jacked, he's muscular. He shows high levels of testosterone, mainly beards, muscular, strong jawline, and so a wide jawline, and so on. But when she is not ovulating, she wants a man who is looking soft and meek, and a man who is someone that he looks like he's well bred. He's not a rough guy. He looks like someone who goes to church. He has a good job, probably an accountant, and so on. So, based on this, mating strategy of women was actually uncovered, and that's why men get cuckolded. You know what cuckoldry is, eh?
No.
A man is you have your wife.
Yeah.
And there was a discussion recently where the president said, mtoto ni mtoto. Many men today raise children who are not theirs. And it's because women step out of their marriages, particularly maybe when they're ovulating, they have sex with someone who's different from their husband, and then they come back. So most men actually provide what we call parental investment. And that's why we call them beta male providers. You are a provider, but you provide resources, not the seed. When it comes to the seed, women want the alpha seed.
Let's go back to something very interesting that you said.
Yes.
And I want to hypothesize why I think you're saying this is that when a woman is ovulating, they are attracted to that person with the beard.
Yes, the alpha. We call them the alpha.
The alpha male.
Tall.
And then when they are not in ovulation, then they're attracted to this small skinny guy that looks well bred.
Not small, but someone who is not looking very rough.
Yeah.
Yes.
So does this then mean that the controlling nature is it about the controlling nature of the woman, or is it about who provides and who plants the seed?
Yes. So now, actually, the point I was going to make is later on.
Yeah.
Right now, women have actually overcrowded the humanities. When you look at social sciences, psychology, things like law, women have crowded those areas. Right now, the experiment I just told you, women are now, the academy, people in academy are saying it cannot be replicated because it doesn't flatter. It is not a flattering exposure or exposure to women. So they want it to be chezo chini. But now let me answer your question. What happens with women is that women want, when it comes to a man to have children with, they want the alpha seed, a man who is, it looks like he's of good genetic stock. That means he's strong, physically strong, purely physical. But when it comes to parenting, a woman wants a man who can provide the resources and be faithful to her. That's a man who will not abandon her. Okay? Most times men who are have these alpha characteristics, they have what we call offspring abandonment. So most of them, they make women pregnant and then they leave. Deadbeat dads. Most of them, you'll find actually they are alphas because
so I'm going to interrupt a little bit while you're doing this because then we there is nothing wrong with women doing this. There is nothing wrong with women choosing the man to plant this seed in them to be this alpha male. It's all. Do you think it is all genetical? Is it all biological? And again, now that now reverses the question about the men that abandon their kids, the alpha male.
Yes.
Are we? Is this just the way it is, or are you blaming the woman? Are you blaming the man for being deadbeat?
We're not blaming the women. Actually, that's why it's important to understand female nature.
Yeah.
When we had patriarchy, women were not given unfettered avenues to express themselves. Their sexuality, for example, was really suppressed. Women needed to cover up. Women needed to be virgins at the time when they were being married. And so there was no expression of what women really wanted. Okay? So women learned to, so for example, this thing we call coquettishness. Being coquettish basically means it's a seduction that is indirect. Okay? If you look at most cultures, like for example in South America, a woman who is single or a maiden, you just need to put stick a flower in your hair. And men take that as a symbol that you are available, they can approach you. Women never approach in all cultures. It's always men. So a woman, for example, can wear a miniskirt or show her cleavage. So you as a man, you'll see visually and then get interested and say, hi, how are you? Can I buy you a drink? And so on. So women just attract, but the men approach. So culturally, women are not allowed to say what they want. Even right now, in fact,
but that is semantics? Is it not just approaching? I mean, if you can attract, you're approaching.
No. Women attract.
Yeah.
The men approach. Let me give you another example. If you look at this is basically how it is. And even when you talk about pickup artists, it's always men who are doing pickup. Women never pick up. It's the men who are telling you if you and I should be next to each other in the alphabet and things like that. Women just sit there. Even when you look at dates, a woman just needs to show up. It's going to be the man to plan about the Uber, to pay the bill, if it's Airbnb.
But you see, that is really interesting that a woman would want you to sleep with her, but you still take care of all the bills around you sleeping with her. And I feel this is not genetics. This is just being what is the word? How surviving and it is the audacity of women that they will want you to bed them, but they still expect you to take care of all these things.
No. By the way, it's genetics. Sperms are cheap. Eggs are expensive.
What do you mean
sperms are cheap? A man will spill millions of sperms in one ejaculation.
Yeah.
A woman, every 14 days, she ovulates. Just every 14 days, a cycle, an ovulatory cycle once a month. She will ovulate once. And when she gets pregnant, it is 9 months. A man has no menopause. Men will produce sperms their entire lives. But women, at some point, those sperms, they run out. I mean, the egg, sorry. She enters menopause.
So quality and quantity.
Not quality, both quality and quantity. But so that is one thing you have to understand. So, and that is why you'll see, and this is something that many women also don't understand. A woman's primary agency is her sexuality. That means even if a woman has a PhD, she's a CEO. When men are picking women, they pick them based on the education they have. They look at their beauty and their youth. Okay?
The beauty and the youth.
The
That is
beauty-
very interesting that
Yes.
you're talking about the youth.
Yes.
Why are you talking about the youth?
Because the youth has an impact on whether she's reproductive.
Reproductive or can be able or is beautiful.
Yes, it's both. It's tied, but also you can find a woman who is beautiful even in her 40s,
Yeah.
but she may not be able to have a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why the youth comes in. If you look at, and this is something that is hardwired in men. If you interview men who are 18 years, if you interview men who are 32 years, men who are in their 40s, men who are in their 70s, men want the same thing from women. They want a young, beautiful woman. If you interview an 18-year-old woman and a 40-year-old woman, they don't want the same man. Yes. And that's why also men have struggled to understand women, because women don't remain the same. Women keep changing based on their ovulatory cycle and based on their age. A woman who is in her 20s, she's wild. She wants that alpha guy, by the way. She's willing to take the risk and get pregnant with him, even though there is that risk of offspring abandonment. A woman in her 30s doesn't want the bad boy anymore. She now wants someone who she can settle with, someone who has an 8 to 5
The guy
job.
was a sense of bread and butter. around
Yes, the guy who she can tell, I want you home by 8, and the guy will be there by 8. You see, but when she's in her 20s, she doesn't mind running around with the bad boys. So, because eggs are expensive, and that is why, even if you look at the history of mankind, when people are in war, you kill all the men, but you take the women and the children, because you can use the women to breed and expand your community or your legacy. Because
even if they don't belong to your tribe.
yes, that is the thing. So women have been treated historically as spoils of war because of their capacity to reproduce and expand. A man, of course, can have hundreds of women because of his capacity to have these sperms. You don't need a lot of one woman. When she's pregnant, 9 months have to pass before you can do anything with her. But a man can keep doing that non-stop. So that is why we have evolved to approach women and to be able to be the ones to secure reproductive access. The women are the ones that are approached. And also, women are very poor at handling rejection. That's one other major thing. That's why men approach women. Men can take rejection, women cannot. And that's why women also don't want to be body shamed. They cannot deal with it. A man will be told you have a kitambi.
This is what women have always wanted, you know. The equality thing. It's interesting that it's only we should be equal to a particular point.
Yes, unfortunately.
We should be equal to the point that the pay should be equal. You should give me the when I want an off, I should get the off. But then the equality seems to dim when now we are going to a restaurant and you're supposed to pull out the chair.
Yes.
And you're supposed to open the door.
Yes.
And you're supposed to pay the bill.
Yes.
And you're supposed to organize for the Airbnb for the one night stand. You're supposed to. Why do you think this is? Women are naturally stingy.
No, actually, what I need to tell you, and I hope the guys who are listening to this can understand me. Women don't want equality. Women don't want equality. People need to understand this very, very well.
All women?
All women. There are no women who want equality from their romantic partners. They may want equality at the workplace. Like me and you, we are colleagues. They want equality, but not at home. Women will always want men who earn more than them. Ask any woman, they'll tell you, I want a man who is tall, dark, and handsome. They want men who are taller than them. They want men who are more educated than them. They want men who are more intelligent than them. That means all women want a man who is a leader. They don't want a man who they are going to lead. So intrinsically, for a woman to respect a man as a romantic partner or as a husband, the man needs to be superior to her for her to be actually aroused.
Financially?
In all ways. So women don't want equality, especially in marriage. And that's why so many marriages, they run into trouble when the man either loses his job or the business runs into trouble or whatever happens that makes her now take up the role of the man in the family. Then the marriage, you find, becomes very rocky. because women, the only man they can be aroused to is a man who can provide them protection, provisioning. Women want to feel safe. And if you're a man who is weak and who is broke, they feel exposed. So they don't feel safe with you. That is what happens.
Weak and broke.
Yes.
Weak physically.
Yeah, weak physically. They want a man who is stronger than them.
But a lot of women are looking for allies in the men that are weak and broke.
Now, what
women
normally
claim
happens...
that we don't have a problem with your financial...
No, they are not honest. Even right now,
they're not honest.
You will find that we have women who have husbands who are broke and the marriages are going on. But those women are frustrated.
Yeah.
You will not find that they're happy. Yes, the marriage is there. But if she's to open up, she'll tell you how it's difficult and all that. She's not going to be happy. So maybe she doesn't have options. She doesn't know what else to do. But she's not going to be happy. Yeah, she's just trapped. She has no options. So men need to understand that women want men that are articulate, men who can solve their problems. Basically, women want men who can solve their problems. If she has a problem with a child or with her car or with even her boss, she wants you to be able to tell her, this is how you need to handle this. That is what makes a woman feel safe. And women have evolved to want a man to protect them. When men, unfortunately, and that's one thing men have to understand, we are like dogs. We are like dogs in this sense. If you have a dog, have you ever had a dog?
I do have one right now.
You have a dog.
Yeah.
Even if you kick your dog, it's going to cry, but it will still come back.
Yeah.
That's how men are.
That's you mean even however much a woman kicks a
Yes,
man.
even you'll find women really are rude to their husbands, but the man will still be there. Look at marriages. It is women who are leaving. A woman does not tolerate mistreatment. You cheat on her, you beat her, and so on. If she's an educated, empowered woman, she will leave. The women who stay in abusive marriages, normally either they have some psychological problem or they are coming from poverty, a background where they really can't go back.
Whereby when she leaves, then she can't take care of herself.
Yes. Most men, you find even in the West, a number of them, if they face a situation where, and that's why most men, when they are very unhappy in their marriages, they don't leave, they get a side chick. You see, most women, when a woman meets a man she's attracted to, she starts planning to leave her marriage. When a man meets a woman he's attracted to, he starts planning how he's going to smash her. But leaving his marriage is never part of his plans. He's going to smash her and come back home. But a woman will plan how she's going to leave this loser. You see, that is how it works. So that's why you find even many men, like in the West, you find a situation where a woman is really, the marriage has become so terrible. This guy is commit suicide. We find a guy has killed his entire family and himself. That's what men do. Men don't leave. In cases where men leave, you will find the woman really has to be terrible. But most men put up with a lot. So much. Yeah.
We have the issue that is really burning right now. I don't know how to say this, but whenever you see, most of the women have got babies right now, and they're not in relationships.
Yeah.
Like you see a young girl, 22 years old, and the next thing you see her posting is, my baby boy, my baby girl, my baby this, my baby that. But then you don't see men around them.
Yes.
Why do you think there are so many single mothers?
Yeah. So
young and single. Single and have children.
It's a very good question. Unfortunate thing about women really like misleading each other.
Yeah.
You see Beyonce, when Beyonce sang Single Ladies, she was already married to Jay-Z. And, she also sang a song that she was saying, to the left, like if she catches you cheating, she's going to throw you out. Put your things to the left and throw you out.
I've never understood what that song
means.
You
put your things to the left and all that. She's talking about how she'll pack your things and you will leave. If she catches you cheating, I can replace you in a minute and things like that. That's so? In the song, yes. But when she caught Jay-Z's cheating, she sang the song Lemonade. She made lemonade out of her lemon. So women really mislead each other. Now,
you think that's the reason?
But I'm coming back. I'm coming to your question. That's number one.
Yeah.
So you see the way socialites they flaunt all this lavish lifestyle on social media and on air. So young ladies, and this is something I've seen even as I'm working. Yeah? Young ladies prefer to be a snack for rich men rather than be married to an average man, because women they are attracted to a lifestyle. And a lifestyle basically means, you post photos of you holidaying in Dubai, you post them on Instagram, you have all these Gucci handbags and the clothes and the jewelry and so on. And they feel the best way to get that is by remaining single. Now, the challenge with remaining single is, of course, you're going to get a rich man. Most of them politicians, businessmen. But these men will tell you, these are alpha men. Remember, we've talked about alphas, offspring abandonment.
Yeah.
In one heated night of passion, they tell you, mi nataka unizalie katoto.
The man.
Amekupatia half a million or 200K. Okay? So this guy tell you, mimi katoto tu kinizalia, tunaenda Dubai, tukitoka Dubai na kununulia gari. So they get a child. And of course, they don't think long term. Most of these guys are there in their 50s, 40s. They're probably already stressed in their marriages at home. This guy one day gets heart attack, he dies, he drops dead. He leaves this woman in an apartment in Kileleshwa. Now she starts having a rotation of several men. Because not all men are able to give you 50K every week or per session. Kuna wa 5K wa 2K. Ndio unapata, kuna wa fuel, kuna wa salon, kuna wa rent, kuna wa stima, kuna wa nini. So all these women, they get an apartment and they have a rotation of men because they want to maintain a certain lifestyle. Okay? So, but it is the allure of what they have seen on social media. So-and-so is living like this. So-and-so is hanging out at this place. So-and-so. But an average man who is working an 8-to-5 job, who is earning 70K, can't give her that life. So she decides, I'd rather be a single mother and continue with my baby. So you, as a single woman, you are a snack. If you post things on Instagram and someone comes into your DM and he wants to meet you, you can easily meet. You are single. And that's why people always say that this word single mother is very misleading, because you are a mother, you're not single. You are really not single.
Yeah, so if I'm a single mother is meaningless.
It's misleading. It's misleading. The way we use it and the way it has been acculturated, it doesn't stop a woman from getting access. But that's why we talk about sexual marketplace value. And that's one of the things I'm bringing out in Unplugged. Women have a big challenge understanding the difference between men that they can have and men that they can keep. Almost any woman can have a man, because you see, the sexual strategy of men is to spread their seeds. Men's sexual strategy is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. That's why men even consume pornography. So even if you're a single mother, there will be men who want to sleep with you. But it doesn't mean those men want to marry you. It doesn't mean they are willing to wife you up. That's the challenge that most women have.
Are they willing to take care of you?
Yeah, they are not willing.
Are they willing to take care
They're
of you?
not willing. Most of the time, they're willing to give you money. But that money is normally not enough. Okay? During holidays, you'll find you're very lonely. This guy is with his family. They've gone for Christmas. They've gone for Easter and so on.
And men don't have a problem with actually showing their family and still moving around.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
Some men, not all men. Most of the times it is the alpha males are the ones who don't have a major issue with that. But the way our society is, a number of men are beta males. So a beta male basically is a man who has to swear sexual exclusivity to a woman. You see someone like Diamond Platinums, for example. This guy is made all women pregnant all over the place, Rwanda, Kenya, and so on. And women still go to him. He doesn't need to go on one knee and propose to them, because he is attractive. He's arousing them. Okay?
But he's arousing them, Mama. His money is arousing them.
It's the same package. It's a full package. It's a full package.
What is the full package of a man?
The full package.
What is the full package of a man?
You see, when I say it's a full package, it means there are also men who have money, but they are not arousing to women. So he has money, and because of his charisma, his talent as a musician, all that together makes him very arousing to women. Yes. So even in his concerts, you'll find them removing their panties and throwing on the stage and so on. I don't know if they cannot do that to someone like you or me. But that guy is on another level. So women have that thing in them. When they see an alpha, they get aroused. But an ordinary man who has a good job.
Will always say in the public arena, in the public spaces, that they want a man that is loyal. It's a lie.
They do. They want a man who is loyal. But women, you see, the female sexual strategy, which we call hypergamy, it's dualistic. They want a man who is loyal, but they also want the alpha. The alpha is for giving the seed, the alpha is for parenting, the beta is for parenting. So that's why many guys...
The one that will come home.
Yeah, the guy will come
home at 6.
Yes. So we normally say...
And watch news at 9.
Yes, that man is attractive, but he's not arousing. The guy who is arousing is a wild bad boy. That's the one that will make them wet.
The one with the Gucci bag in
Yes.
a plane.
And sometimes dreadlocks and so on. That's the guy that's the guy who really makes them feel aroused. So it has been a challenge. It's an anomaly sort of in biology that to find both characteristics in one man is normally difficult. Normally, men who are alphas also abandon their offsprings. And they abandon their offsprings because so many women want them. So they don't need to commit to one woman.
Probably we should talk about this. Why do men abandon? Is it really abandoning them, or just that this is not what I wanted in the first place? So the question of abandonment shouldn't come because I never wanted it, because you have to abandon something that you had, something that you wanted.
Most of these alphas, they have children before they are ready to become parents. It means that they're either in high school or in the university and so on. And because of their high levels of testosterone, they are able to implement their sexual imperatives. They'll get women pregnant and so on. Some of us, sometimes at that time, we are still very shy and so on. Or you'll find that they have a child with a woman, but they're also entertaining other women. So when these women tell them you have to stop entertaining those other women, the alpha chooses to walk away. He values his freedom and access to other women more than he values keeping one woman. So that's why they abandon these children. But also even traditionally, a man really did not need to be with his child. If you look at the traditional society, when a child was born, most times the mother nurtured them up to maybe 12 years, and then the father took them and he joined a community of men, where now he was taught how to become a man and do manly things. Yeah, so they
go hunting with them, they go doing whatever, fishing with them.
Yes, and at that time it really didn't even matter who the father actually really was.
But then again, what happens in the animal kingdom? Do they take care of the young ones in the animal kingdom?
They actually don't. What the male needs to do is like if you look at lions, they protect the herd. Most times the lions don't know their children. You know that the lioness mates with all those lions in the pride. And that also makes it impossible for the lions to commit infanticide. So, men or the male mammals or primates, we have this infanticide thing in us, where you kill children who are not yours. And that's one reason why single mothers also have a hard time. Most men don't like raising children who are not theirs.
Why so?
Because you want to spend your resources propagating your own seed, not another man's children. So it's hardwired in us. It's like abandoning your own sexual strategy by raising another man's child. And that's why we call it cuckoldry. The cuckoo bird, what it does is that when it wants to lay an egg, instead of building a nest like other birds, it looks for a nest that has been built by another bird. And when that bird flies off to look for food, it goes and hatches or lays an egg and confuses this other bird. So this cuckoo bird is very lazy. It doesn't do the real work of motherhood. It lets other birds do it. That's why we call it cuckoldry. When a woman goes and gets another man's seed and she tells you I'm pregnant and you are very happy as a husband, but this child is not yours. Women do this a lot. Actually, paternity tests, 30% of men normally, they fail those tests. And those are just the men who suspected. So it's actually much, much worse. That's why even in Tanzania parliament, they said that mtoto ni mtoto. And that's why fatherhood is normally said to be sociological. It's not biological. Because if you open that page of biology, it's a Pandora's box. Many men will realize families will break up. If you start doing DNA tests today, from family to family, there was that story of the fire that broke out in... there was a guy, this is Moi Girls High School, where a fire started and the girls, a number of girls were burnt beyond recognition. When they did paternity tests, the people who came to claim those as their daughters realize the DNA tests show that you have no relationship. So it's a very widespread thing. And women have evolved that way. A woman can be able to tell that this man that I married is a very good man, very handsome, very providing, caring, but I don't want to raise his children. She'll get another man out there to make a
And also
pregnant.
there are women that actually go into the marketplaces to look for a man to get a child with, even if they are not interested in getting married.
Yes.
But they will look for men to, because
Yeah,
I also do you also feel that that single mothers is by design? They just went out and looked for
They
a
are
man.
somewhat by design. Women have what we call baby rabies, especially when they reach
Baby what?
baby rabies.
Baby rabies. The rabies for the dogs.
Yeah, they feel like, the rabies make them, in Awasha, they want to have a child, particularly between the age of 26 and 29. If a woman is single at that time, she really feels that she wants to have a child. So many women, if they're single at that time, is when you find them entertaining the idea that, me, I just want to have a child, I don't want to get married, and so on. So they can go ahead
There's
and
a
get
woman
a child.
who told me that I just want to have a baby with you. That's all.
It's happening more and more. But many times also, some of them, either you'll find that they've seen their mother go through a rough time in the hands of their father, or they've just been fed negative vibes by their mothers mostly. That wewe unaona vile babako amenitesa, hii mambo ya ndoa hata usiwahi mwa, never allow a man to do this for you. Women like saying such things. So a little girl, you tell a girl something like that, when she grows up, it is actually implanted in her mind that a man is not someone you should allow to come close into your life. He can hurt you. So they actually just grow up and decide to become single mothers. There are many women who do that. A number of them, of course, are also single mothers, not because of design. Maybe they got into abusive marriages and decided that they could not stay in those relationships. Yeah.
There's a lot of I don't know what.
But right now,
Yeah.
more and more, single motherhood is ennobled, particularly in the West. And being a single mother is like you want to be given a certificate. Many women nowadays, if you go to social gatherings, they feel like it's an achievement, like the way you can say that I've served in the army. Many women
I'm a
now,
veteran.
Yeah, I'm a veteran, They feel that because they're a single mother,
Yeah.
it should come with some sort of honor or respect. And that is what's happening in the US. Many women prefer to get a child rather than get married. And it's because of these songs they're singing, Beyonce and the Cardi B's and so on and so forth. They sing about.
But do you think they're loving it? Or
No, they're not. They're not loving it. They're not loving it. The only challenge is, you see, there are some bridges once you've crossed, it becomes difficult, because the challenge also is that a woman's sexual agency also decays with time. So you could be a single mother, but now in your late 30s, getting a man is very difficult. If you are a single mother and you are a successful woman in terms of business or career, it will be very difficult for you to get a man, because men who are at your level are already married. And women also don't want to marry down. Very few women do it, and when they do it, they have to be the ones who are paying. It means you pay the Ben 10s and so on. And of course, marrying a young man also has its challenges. This man will want to screw around if you are an older woman, and women don't like that. And one thing that we know is that men who are dating older women normally have it very rough compared to women who are dating the sugar daddies, as they call them. Men take care of these young girls. But the women who are dating younger men, you really have to earn your keep. You have to work very hard.
to get that iPhone 14.
Yes, you have to work so hard. And she monitors you.
She monitors
you. Yes. If she gets any stray message on your phone, you are out. You see. But most sugar daddies give these young ladies a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And it's also related to, you see, it's normally said, educate a woman and help a village or a community. You see, many times when a woman gets a good job in the corporate place, many times she can help herself and maybe her family. Because even many women also say that his money is ours, but my money is mine. When a man gets a good job, this man will help his family.
Yeah.
Many times they also help mpango wa kandos. They pay his school fees for all sorts of children and so on and so forth. And that is also an argument that people normally talk about now when you talk about...
Yeah, educate a man and educate the whole family, the whole village.
Yes. And you see even what Tomboya did with the airlift program and so on. He affected so many people's lives. But you see, when you're growing up, you're
do you
the
think
opposite.
that women and their money, man, you can't go between, you can't.
It's very difficult. The challenge is that when you also start relying on a woman's money, she loses respect for you. Women have been acculturated to feel that when they are giving sex in a relationship, that is so much more than even money. They should not add anything more. And if they do, they start resenting you. And that's why we say equality cannot work. Many women who have, like if your rent is 50 bob, she pays 25, you pay 25. If this needs to be paid, you half, you're not going to be a man in that marriage. In fact, she will feel that it's a raw deal for her. She will look for a man who can pay her full rent. Yes. So it doesn't work. This thing of equality, people talk about it, but it cannot work in marriage. It's because of how women have evolved. Women want a man who is a protector and a provider. One thing people normally forget, which I've also explained in Unplugged, we evolve over millions of years. So this thing is hardwired, it's in our firmware. But the things we are now talking about equality, it's something that was introduced like 45 years ago. The sexual revolution began when the contraceptive was introduced. So it's not going to take a very short time to change how we have evolved. It will take quite a while. And that's why women still feel aroused by men of a certain type, not any kind of a man.
What is the idea behind, as we wind down, what is the idea behind Unplugged? What do you want to teach men? Do you want to make money as an author?
That's a good question. I never planned to write this book. As I mentioned earlier, my earlier books, in fact, my other 7 books, they're all books of fiction. So during COVID, when I saw what was happening around me, I decided, let me do some investigation just to get an understanding. What exactly is happening? I ended up spending too much time on it. And now I wanted to go back to writing fiction. In fact, I already had written a book halfway, but I realized I've discovered too much. I cannot keep this knowledge to myself. I need to share this with men. Because I've seen men are really suffering. And men are suffering because we're idealists. Women are practicalists. Women don't entertain nonsense. Men have a lot of illusions about life. And that's why men commit a lot of suicide. Women are very practical. You'll find a man whose his wife has left him. This guy starts drinking. He gets drunk. You'll find him either he dies in a car accident or he commits suicide. Or I know of a guy who was found dead. He just drank himself to death. He just gets drunk. He blacks out. Any moment of consciousness, he just adds more and more drinks until he died. So men, for example, don't know that. They don't know why women love them. Women love in a very functional manner in terms of the love that a woman gives you. It's because of a survival imperative, not because of romantic notions. And that is why women will tell you, I want a man who is tall, dark, and handsome. A man who is tall is a man... Normally, when you talk about dark man is a man who is mysterious. He's a man who is dangerous. He's a man who is capable of applying force or violence. So a man who looks very feminine is not going to be very attractive to women. And that's why even as we've evolved to be muscular, to be taller, men have a larger frame than women and so on. It's because of that role of provisioning and protection. So many men go into marriages thinking that a woman will love you the same way your mother loved you. And they end up getting a very rough, very bad results. Like the men who they pay school fees.
They get very bad results.
Yeah, they pay school fees for a girl.
Yeah.
When this girl graduates, she tells you you're not my type. You've seen these cases, there are too many around. Even in the police force. These men kill women. When they cannot kill the women, they kill themselves. And it is because of very wrong ideas that we pick from romance novels, from Hollywood, from the church, unfortunately. And these romantic notions, men carry them into marriage. And they realize too late that the ideas they have in their heads actually are what are destroying their own lives. Yes. So that the book is about teaching men about female nature, about how the world has been feminized, and about how you can become successful men. That's in terms of pursuing your purpose, pursuing your goals, and becoming alpha. Because most of us, we are raised to be beta males. And beta males have the worst experiences.
And women don't like the fact that you're doing this, I think.
Some don't. Okay, but it's good you've asked that, because I get a lot of support from women. The women who support my work are normally women who are in their 50s, 60s, women who have men who are in their 20s. And they're either single women and now don't know what to do with these young men. Or you find women who are raising boys and they don't know how to raise these young men. They don't know how to tell them.
They suddenly realize that the same people that I hate are the same people.
Yes, who can help you. Yes.
Yeah.
Or the women who don't like my work are single mothers who still want to get men. University girls also don't like me very much because I discourage men from keeping side chicks and things like that. And of course, I expose the sexual dynamics and the sexual strategies of women and how women manipulate men. Because women play in the psychological, and men are very poor at psychological games. So I teach them how to handle some of those things. Yeah.
All right, great, my friend. It was very, very nice having you. I really, really loved the conversation. It is raw, just like the circumcision one.
Yes.
a lot of rawness was there, and I hope that this is not the last. We will have
absolutely.
this conversation again, and we can talk about the issues of. I am very passionate about issues of men because I also think that I've been called stingy because I don't give a lot of money to women, and I've never gotten the reason to do it. Sometimes they say you are naive, you don't know about life. There's a lady who told me, Jagero, you're a coward. We were in Rwanda, and this girl wanted to sleep with me, and I told her that I am married, and she was like, "Fuck, you're married, but you're not married here in Rwanda. Your wife is in Kenya. At least finger me if you can't fuck me."
This is really raw. Is this recording?
So you talk about women and psychology.
Yes. That's manipulation because she's shaming you.
Yeah.
She's shaming you. Yeah. She wants to use shame now to make you do whatever she wants.
To do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
So thank you guys very much for listening to this to this podcast, and I hope that. So this is the deal. We are going to be having very bold conversations. And one of the things that I would ask you is that you can subscribe to this channel, Dialogues with Jagero. And just apart from subscribing, you can hit that notification bell so that each and every time we have such a bold conversation, you can always get a notification. And what happens with the algorithms of Google is that when they see people liking something, commenting on something, and sharing something, they know that something is good. So I would ask you that please comment or say something about this. Whatever this gentleman has said, there's some bold things. You can always add your voice to it by commenting on this, sharing them, and until the next episode. See you and ciao.